On today's show, the Family Business Whisperer, part 2 of this week's series on business planning with Millennial marketer David Specht, CFP. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, David.
Thanks.
I have to say your title was intriguing. I mean, I've seen the horse whisperer, the dog whisperer, Where did you come up with this, the Family Business Whisperer?
Well, it actually was given to me by someone else. It was a writer that had seen some of the other pieces that I had written, and she was doing a piece on my work, and she said, "You're like the Family Business Whisperer." And I was kind of like, well, what's that about? But it's just all about being intuitive, I think, intuitive to what the needs are of this specific niche, and being able to manage those complexities.
For a young advisor like yourself who's watching this show, how does that advisor get a good understanding of the family business practice? Can you help him cut to the quick? Is this something he has to learn on his own? How would he do that?
I think the first thing to do is to try to understand the family business system as a whole, which basically is there's three components. One is the family, the other is the business, and the third is ownership. And if we looked at it in a Venn diagram, there's this crossover, this intersection of where family members fit in that category. And so understanding, who works in the business, who does not, who owns the business, who does not, who's family, and really figuring out what the different needs are of all those participants gives you an understanding of where some of the conflict comes in with these family-owned businesses. And so that's where I would start.
Isn't it usually in a family, especially a closely held family practice, we're really not talking about balance sheet mathematical issues. These are family dynamic issues that really take on much more of the time for an advisor than actually the raw data collection and then giving a plan.
Yeah, what I learned early on was that being sound technically as an advisor is really important. But if you can't get to these soft issues and figure out, can dad and son work together? What's holding them back from being able to transition? Are there trust issues? What I found was that they were not implementing my technical solutions unless we first looked at some of those soft issues. And so it really became the focus. And the technical issues, the technical solutions, they're easy once the soft issues are addressed.
Now you say there's soft issues. They sound kind of, for lack of a better word, that you're putting your client on a couch and you're being somewhat of a psychologist or a pastor or kind of a shepherd or a personal coach.
Yeah, a lot of people do say that, and I probably should have studied psychology rather than finance and tax, but it's really about being interested in a person and what's really important to them and being genuine about it.
Let me ask you this. Does a business owner know what's important to them, or do you have to kind of walk them through some questions?
Yeah, you have to pull it out of them. Every business owner is very focused on what they do and what they do well. They're not always focused on some of these, the intersection of the family and the business. And so it's really up to the advisor to spend a great deal of time preparing to ask what I call an inspired question. And really what that means is to get them to think. There's not a wrong or right answer to that question, but to really get them to be vulnerable to you and to express what's important.
I noticed in one of your areas here, when you're talking about marketing to family businesses, I'm thinking of people, I'm going to send an email blast out. I'm going to knock on the door. I'm going to see if I can get past the gatekeeper by doing cold calling. But you have been using it, and remember, you had no experience right before you started writing for these trades.
No.
So somehow, some way, you were able to penetrate that because one of your main marketing areas, penetration tactics, is writing articles and small blogs. Talk about how you got into this, because did you see yourself as a writer when you began this?
No, I wasn't a writer. But I was interested in the topics. I was interested in the issues. And what I found out is that these publications are starved for good content. They want good content. They want people who are genuine about these issues. And so I would do multiple things. I would go and interview business owners, figure out what some of the hot issues were, and then write about them. And then I would include quotes from some of the biggest family businesses that I could find. And it snowballed on itself. They like that they're mentioned in these publications.
And you had no prior experience.
I had no prior experience.
Now, when you started writing, did you say, wow, I'm a lousy writer, I need help? Or no, hey, I have a natural gift for this? How did you discover yourself?
Well, you have to fake it till you make it. My wife is a good writer, and so she's the secret weapon. I'll get my thoughts out, and she will put the lipstick on it.
These publications are starving for content?
They are. They're starving for creative content.
No. Did you just make a description difference between creative content and just plain old content?
No, I mean they want a new angle. They want a new story. They want something that's living. And these family business stories are easy because every family is like a unique TV show or a unique episode. I mean, every family is different.
How does this add value to your practice by writing in publications like this?
Well, I automatically have credibility. Writing in Successful Farming magazine then gets me speaking engagements in the ag sector. Writing for construction publication gives me an audience at the construction level. And so it gives credibility, and it's a marketing tool as well. So I can use these publications afterwards forever to say, this is something that I think you'll get benefit from, and so I'll send my articles to families and be able to use it over and over and over again.
We'll be right back in about 30 seconds. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back. I'm with David Speck. David, we're talking about becoming a family business whisperer. I'm still kind of chuckling over the name, but I kind of like the whisperer idea. Part of being a whisperer, according to the way you write, and I've seen your stuff on the web and some of the articles that you've been writing, part of your market penetration tactic is to become an industry advocate for that specific industry. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe you grew up on a farm, and when you brought up the ag issue in the last segment, I kind of get that. But let's say I know nothing about construction, because you talked about construction.
Sure.
What did you know about construction, and you started writing for this?
Well, I'll go back to ag for a second.
Sure.
What was funny was I went to Nebraska, and I grew up in San Diego. So I always introduce myself when I speak as I'm a farm kid from San Diego. Well, that's like, what? What are you talking about? Well, we had 2.5 acres, and I had a 4-H pig. I'm not a farmer, but that's how I introduced myself, and I became interested in the issues of the farm. Construction is similar. I mean, you just have to, if you're interested in it and you take some time to learn about what the tools of the trade are, then you can get started.
But this is after you interviewed people in these sectors, correct? I mean, because you had to really pick up on the language, a basic understanding of what they're confronted with, so that you could formulate a plan. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, you have to learn about what their issues are, because family business as a whole, they have some very general issues that can be applied across industry. So you don't have to start over every new niche that you go after, but learning what the issues in ag are, or learning about the construction industry, or learning about, family-owned aviation companies and what their challenges are. You have to do a little research.
I noticed that one of your tactics was you got into dealerships. Talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of like really leveraging. Now you're not just one dealer, you may be talking to several dealerships.
Yeah. Most dealerships, distributorships are family-owned businesses. And in fact, many of them serve family businesses. So it could be a double whammy, where I spoke to a dealer network, and it just so happened that those 150 dealers, 90% of them were family-owned businesses, but all of their customers were family farms. And so you can leverage it, yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit. I want to shift gears a little bit about, we have baby boomers now and their children, millennial children, and now whatever the next generation of your children are. I don't know what they call them yet. Do baby boomers want their millennial children to participate in the business plan?
It depends on the family. It really depends on the family. I think that ultimately every parent would love to have their child be successful in the business that they're in. Now, there's stages of which the next generation, or which with the senior generation is willing to tell the next generation about the finances of the business and the challenges. It's a struggle, because as a parent you want to first of all, you want to kind of protect them from the troubles that you face in business, but at the same time, you have to let them in on some of that too. So every family is a little different.
But I know you encourage it. You want both generations to be there at the table when you begin planning, because there's going to be, if there's an omission, if there's somebody absent, it could be a critical kind of fly in the ointment to your overall plan.
Exactly. Yeah. First of all, I would say the spouse has to be included, because they have so much power in the family, especially in the wife, especially the wife. Non-participating wife, really important, because they really influence how the kids feel about the business or the farm or whatever it may be. And then that next generation, you may have some of them that are participating in the business, some that are not, but you don't really know until you ask them, how they feel about it. And then you get into, just the philosophical question with each family of ownership, and is there going to be shared ownership between participating and non-participating heirs? And so you have to include them. My definition of a successful estate plan is the one that eliminates the greatest number of surprises. Not necessarily the one that eliminates all the tax. Eliminate the surprises.
In your part of your tactic of business, you also are kind of engaged in trying to speak at business events. Do you see a kind of is there a famine in the land for speakers at these kind of events?
There aren't a lot that are really willing to talk about both the family issues and business. A lot are willing to come in and talk about solutions, but not necessarily go to some of the issues that the family's facing before they can make those solutions. So there's a great opportunity for advisors to speak kind of and live at that intersection between the family and the business.
Have you seen, could that be a reason why people don't close a lot of business cases that are in there? They're doing the solution, they're talking about the answers, they already have these models in their mind, what they're going to do. It worked for the other one, might as well work for this one. And they kind of are sidestepping what you are now putting at the front center of right on the front burner issue, which is we got to get all the family dynamics down, and the math and the analytics will come later.
Yeah, there's no boilerplate solution for every family. There are lots of ways we can learn from the families that we've worked with in the past, but to assume that we can take it off the shelf and use it again, it just doesn't work. And the family knows when that's what you're trying to do. And it not only doesn't allow them to sell the product that you want to sell, but it slows the process down. We call it start and stop planning. And it becomes really expensive for the family and really frustrating for advisors.
Well, that's our show for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance department. And don't forget, you can view all our past episodes on downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor.